Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Single Muslims, single Muslim men, single Muslim women, brothers, sisters, why are you still single? Let's talk about it. If you have been looking to get married for any meaningful period of time and you still find yourself single, and by meaningful I mean 12 months plus, if you have been looking, Abdi salam wa alaikum assalam rahmatullah. If you have been looking to get married for 12 months plus to no avail, no success, why? Are you the problem? You are the common denominator. Let me take that one step further. Not are you the problem? Let's change the order of two of the words. You are the problem. Most probably. Most probably. Why? Now, Jamie, wa alaikum assalam. Kareem, assalamu alaikum. Because I don't have a job, there is no doubt that being useful, finding a way to earn a living is extremely important. But I have known plenty of men who've gotten married without having had a job. And in fact, after they got married, their risk skyrocketed. So although that is definitely an obstacle, it's not necessarily the reason. And if you don't have a job and you have no means of making an income, make an income. Figure it out. Get yourself a job if needs be. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, whilst I was married to my second wife, we're talking now 2015, I believe it was. I went round to see her and I took my two children from my first wife, my two oldest children, two boys, and their ages at that time would have been, let me figure it out now, 7 and 8. They would have been 7 and 8 years old. We got into the car, we drove over. My wife over there, she had two daughters of her own, and they would have been aged, let me see now, probably 7 and 9. So similar age range. I get out of the car, and both of her two daughters are by the front door. The front door was open, and they were in eye shot of us. We could see them very clearly. My kids got out of the car. My sons got out of the car. What do you think they did? Out of nowhere. Nobody told them to do this. They just spontaneously, randomly began sprinting up and down the path. After they saw those two girls, they began sprinting up and down the path. I'll never forget that experience. Peacocking. Showing their competence. Showing their ability to do stuff. A lot of men, particularly in the what's now become rather infamous black pill arena, have a great problem with the fact that women need men who are useful to them. Women need men who are useful to them. Abdul Hamid, actually, shout out to you, Akhi, do Desi. He mentioned the other day that women often see men as human doings as opposed to human beings. And there is a lot of truth in that. And I say to you, so what? What's the problem in that? What's the problem in that? Let me tell you why. If you have a problem with that, that speaks more about you and the media bullcrap you have been fed on, the diet you have consumed as a child, than it does about women. Because women are the ones who become the vulnerable after they get married. They have kids, they get pregnant. The consequences of a woman being intimate with a man are far greater than a man being intimate with a woman. Now, a lot of men find it unpalatable that women need men to be useful to them. But if a woman was not useful to you in the way that you needed her to be, primarily fulfilling your sexual desires and then being that raha nafsiyah, that peace, that comfort, you too would have no use for her either. Forget all that romantic crap that you heard. Forget all that romantic BS that you've been fed. If she did not fulfill her role of making herself useful to you in the way that you deem her to be useful, you would have no use for her. You would have no use for her. So it gets me, it bothers me when I see men getting hung up on this point. What's the point in me becoming successful just to have to give it all to a woman? No one's telling you to give it all to a woman, but yes, part of being an attractive prospect, and I say part, very important, you can be rich and still terrible with women, but part of being an attractive prospect to a woman is the ability to display your financial competence. Why? Because that gives her the security in knowing that if she, what's the word I'm looking for, reproduces with you, she will be taken care of and her children will be taken care of. What's the problem in that? So for those of you guys who take issue with that, get over it. We all must be useful to one another. You have to be useful to her. She has to be useful to you. Now, we have an epidemic, a pandemic, it would seem, of Muslim men. It's not even a Muslim thing, of men and women finding it difficult to get into relationships. But seeing as we are dealing with Muslims right now, of Muslim men and Muslim women marrying each other. Why? Where does the problem principally lie with? I have my own suspicions, and I will talk about them in a second. But if you want to join the stream, the link is in the description. You can come up. You can keep yourself anonymous if you want. That's not a problem. And let's talk about it. And before I give you my own suspicions, on that point of men who take issue with being useful to a woman, particularly this whole black pill sphere, I have a story for you. And I've read this story before in the past. Most of you probably won't remember. It's a story by Leonardo da Vinci, very short one. Let me read it to you very quickly. The Nut and the Campanile. A nut found itself carried by a crow to the top of a tall campanile, and by falling into a crevice succeeded in escaping its dreaded fate. It then besought the wall to shelter it by appealing to it by the grace of God, and praising its height and the beauty and noble tone of its bells. Alas, it went on, I have not been able to drop beneath the green branches of my old father, and to lie in the fallow earth covered by his fallen leaves. Do you at least not abandon me? When I found myself in the beak of the cruel crow, I made a vow that if I escaped, I would end my life in a little hole. At these words, the wall, moved with compassion, was content to shelter the nut in the spot where it had fallen. Within a short time, the nut burst open. Its roots reached in between the crevices of the stones and began to push them apart. Its shoots pressed up towards the sky. They soon rose above the building, and as the twisted roots grew thicker, they began to thrust the walls apart and force the ancient stones from their old places. Then the wall, too late and in vain, bewailed the cause of its destruction, and in short time it fell into ruin. That's a chapter taken from the 48 Laws of Power. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. And to you gentlemen who do follow black pill content, consume black pill content, this is what you are doing to yourself. That nut, you have allowed it to lodge itself inside you, and it's springing its shoots and dismantling the walls of your mind. It's dismantling the walls of your mind. So be careful whom you associate yourself with and what type of content you consume. And YouTube is very dangerous because YouTube will pay attention to what you click on, what your interests are. And then guess what? It will feed you more of the same. When was the last time you typed anything on YouTube? Tell me. When was the last time you typed something in the YouTube search bar to watch? Most of us open the app and just scroll to see what goodies we can find today. Because the algorithm is better at finding you what you want than you are at finding what you want. But that's dangerous, because if you are consuming crap, guess what? That's going to be a perpetuating downward cycle of crap. Ahmed al-Mahdi, I might buy AbuAmerican's vetting guide. No, you should buy AbuAmerican's vetting guide. Do so, my man. Do so. It comes very highly rated, AbuAmerican's vetting guide. A brother with much experience, Allah of dealing with sisters in marriage. This is interesting. Renee, I don't think you should ever tell a woman how much you make. You should just ensure that you can provide for her. She shouldn't want any more than that. Maybe you may have to discuss it with her wadi. This is a very good point, and is especially pertinent to men of means, men who do have a lot of money. I would 100% agree with that. And some women you have to be more careful of than others, by the way. But as a general rule, yes, 100%. So, to the single Muslim men and women in the chat right now, why are you still single? Why are you still single? Lish, what's the reason? What is the reason that you are struggling to find yourself a husband or a wife? Mahdi, where did you get this quote? I read this straight out of this book here, 48 Laws of Power. I will be getting to that chapter in a few weeks' time. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. SubhanAllah, a lot that you can take from the Sunnah, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of what he spoke about regarding good company. Keep good company, and the parable of what he equated or related it to the perfumery and the blacksmith. Same thing. Whatever type of content you consume, that's the person you will become. Be careful. Be very careful. Ahmed al-Mahdi, I am making a ridiculous amount of money for my age, 23, and I'm afraid of attracting gold diggers. First of all, mabruk, I'm happy for you, akhi. Second of all, be careful. Good times don't last forever. So make sure that you are investing wisely. Don't think that this moment will last forever. Excuse me. And make sure you are investing wisely so that when the downtimes come, and they will come, best believe they will come, you at least have some type of security for yourself. As for you're afraid of attracting gold diggers, this is what you do. Whenever you go to let's say you want to meet a sister, you go to a marriage meeting, make sure you're not rocking up in your beautiful whip, your beautiful car, and you're not wearing the Rolex or whatever watch you may have. You are dressed simply and you take a simple mode of transport to go and visit her. Don't flex, because if you flex the gold, what do you think is going to happen? The gold diggers will start turning up on your radar. Make it clear that you're competent and you're able to take care of her. You can take care of her competently, no problem. But don't flex. And this is a mistake many men make, a mistake I've made in the past. Wanting to impress a woman. But the problem is, you run the risk of throwing out a bait, a hook to the wrong type of sister, to the wrong type of woman, the woman that you are speaking of here, the gold digger. But let's talk about this business of gold digger. To a point, there's nothing wrong with it. Yes, to a point, there's nothing wrong with it. For the reasons I just mentioned, women are seeking security. The consequences of a woman being intimate with a man are far greater for her than they are for you. So she wants to know she can be taken care of. So to a point, it's logical. But at the same time, you don't want to attract someone who just wants you for that. So make sure that you are not flexing. Because when you're out there flexing, guess what? You're going to attract those type of women that you are trying to avoid like the plague. Right. Sihr is the reason. No, sihr is not the reason. This is a cope. Sihr is not the reason why you are still single. SubhanAllah, how many Muslims love to blame the woes in their life on sihr and ayn. Oh, brother, I got the evil eye. Oh, brother, I had sihr done on me. Sister, I had sihr done on me. That's a very fancy way of deflecting responsibility. You don't want to take responsibility. You don't want to take responsibility. It's much easier to say, oh, it was that. Oh, it was this. Oh, it was the third. That makes you feel better. No, it's not. I'm not saying sihr is not real. Sihr is real. Ayn is real. But almost definitely, that's not the cause of your problem. Almost definitely, it is not the cause of your problem. The link is in the description if you want to join the live, and we can talk about it. Right. Ahmad, appreciate it, brother. Just arrived and already gems are getting dropped. I appreciate it, my man. I appreciate it. Right. Oh, right. I also don't like the idea of how high the average man's libido is. It would inconvenience my life to cater to that. Low libido men don't really exist either, except when fat or ill. All right, okay. That's why we have polygyny, sister. That's why we have polygyny, because most women cannot keep up with the libido of most men. It's science. Men have 9 times more testosterone in their body than a woman does. It's simple science. There's no shame in this, by the way. It is what it is, right? You are not deficient because your husband has a greater sexual urge than you. There's nothing deficient about that. He has 9 times more testosterone than you. And in most instances, that's the way it is. There are exceptions to the rule, of course, but they are the exception, not the rule. If you don't like it, tough. Don't make a big deal when he gets another wife. Don't make a big deal when he gets another wife. And I know a lot of you sisters would prefer for your husbands to actually get his rocks off with a prostitute. I've heard this with my own ears. Go with a prostitute, commit zina, commit haram, but whatever you do, don't bring another queen home. Don't bring me another queen. You need an iman check if that's the case. But I understand where it's coming from to a point. Why do women, gentlemen in the chat right now, why do women have an aversion towards sharing their husband or sharing their boyfriend, sharing their man, full stop? Why do they have a natural aversion to that? Is it just jealousy? Yeah, well, the jealousy is definitely a component to it. There's no doubt about it. He's my man. But there's a more practical reason for it. A woman is terrified by the idea that the resources she has right now will be shared with another woman, and as a result of that, her livelihood will be compromised. Her livelihood will be compromised. She is terrified by that prospect. And most men who are practicing polygyny today are getting married again with crutches. Really, with crutches. And that is, they are not financially capable of doing it, but they do it anyway. Even if the sister says to you, oh, brother, I don't need any money, I can take care of myself. I've done this. Big mistake. Big mistake. But even if you do that, the first wife is still going to be thinking, yeah, but you're going to obviously want to spend on her. You're going to obviously want to take her out every now and again. And for every penny you spend on her is a penny taken away from me. And if you are already scraping the barrel, just getting by, that's a big problem for her. You see, women will make exceptions for men whom, I've said this before, for men that they rate, and they make rules for men they don't rate and break rules for men that they do. But in this instance here, if a man is a man of means, resources, wealth, he has money, and him marrying again will not compromise her livelihood, she is going to be more amenable to the idea. She's going to be less resistant to the idea. Less resistant. So long as her livelihood is not affected. That's the existential fear of all women. Don't worry. Don't be so vain. It's not just her jealousy for you, brothers. Don't be so vain. It's not just that. No, she's got more practical reasons. And one of those practical reasons is my life going to be messed up as a result of this man who is meant to be providing for me, who is meant to be taking care of me, on and on, as a result of him marrying another woman? I was gonna say the B word, because that's how they would describe it. Is my livelihood gonna be affected? That's the existential fear of a woman. If you disagree, Then come in the chat. I can see you guys, some of you disagreeing in the chat. No, that's not true. Well, come and tell me why. The link is in the description. Sulaiman, salamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Can you hear me, akhi?
Yes, Akhi. What you got for me, bro?
Yeah, just wanted to, subhanAllah, just bring up one issue, which I think is very prominent in the West in particular. And it's this issue of standards. So how people are nowadays are being brainwashed by the media in terms of what they should be looking for, but in reality, it's something different. It just gets hit hard. So I just wanted to clarify a specific point, which a lot of people I think have a doubt on, which is this idea that men should be lowering their standards for choosing a certain woman based upon certain cultural practices or certain influences that they've been having when they've been brought up, and then that's limited their options
All
going
right.
forward. What do you
Talking
think about that?
You're talking vaguely. Give me a specific example. I want to know specifically. You must have something in mind. What are you referring to?
So, based upon what I've been experiencing, for example, and what people around me have been reporting, is that they've had an issue when it comes to looking for a certain woman, but then
Right.
they feel that other women don't have that in them. So let me just be limited to this particular woman because, and then if I, lose her, then it's going to be hard to find someone else similar to that.
But what's the problem though? As in, what I mean by that is, what specifically is he compromising on?
So he's, for example, compromising on this idea that a woman should be able to sort of, I don't know, you know, being more traditional, if that makes sense. Because nowadays, of what society has been going up to and stuff, it's just been brainwashing a lot of women in terms of how they should be around their husbands and what their duties are, for example. So it's just basically, yeah, gender roles, I'd say.
Okay. All right. So you're saying women today, Muslim women today, are less inclined towards fulfilling the traditional roles of a Muslim woman, but she still wants a traditional Muslim man. Is that what you're saying?
Precisely.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Baba Ali covered this yesterday as well. Absolutely. And again, that's from the side effects of feminism. But I will say to you this, Suleiman, all of this feminism crap and all of that, even if you get a sister who, has traits of feminism or has strong ideas of feminism for that matter, if she is an agreeable, submissive woman, it's still not going to be a big problem. I'm telling you, because ultimately
Mm,
she will submit to your lead. Do you see? She will submit to your way, your way of doing things. So the number
mm,
one thing you want to look for in a sister is this sister agreeable? Is she submissive? What's the dynamic of the relationship like between her mother and her father? This is a big, big telltale sign. Find out. Is her mom submissive towards her husband? Is her mom agreeable? Who's the dominant figure in that household? I'm telling you, bro. Even if she's got all this, all of that goes out the window. It doesn't matter. So long as you, as well as a man, are doing your part. So don't worry yourself too much with that, and concern yourself more with finding yourself a sister who fears Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and then is agreeable and has the ability to be submissive with ease. Emphasis on with ease. Not a woman who's going to test you every 2 seconds. No, a woman who can submit to you and is agreeable with ease. Does that make sense?
No, no, you're right. Because I just wanted to just finish on this last point is that I recently read one of the books that you recommended, which is the What Everybody Is Saying by Joe Navarro. I think it's an
Right,
amazing book,
right.
and I've got to that stage in it where it comes to the sort of leg and the feet movement, which
Mm,
is the most honest part out of all the body parts. Imagine, forget the face, forget the torso, even though that does play a part. But in terms of if you want the true signs of how someone's reacting and what they intended to do, if they're stressed or happy, then look at the lower part of their body. So, would you say, taking that into context, then, when it comes to, finding out about this girl, meeting her, would you say to sort of emphasize on her body language, how she's sort of reacting whenever you're speaking to her, like what her vibe is, how she's sitting, for example, or just that kind of stuff? Or do you think that's a bit too much?
well, firstly and foremostly, even Joe Navarro says in his book that it's not 100% foolproof. And he said, even as an expert like him after 25 years can still get it wrong. So you do have to be careful with body language. For example, she might be exhibiting, or he for that matter, might be exhibiting, okay, let's say the eyes start to flutter quickly. I'll give you an example. I made a video the other day speaking about how to get over your exes. And I noticed at one point in the video, I actually felt myself, my eyes blinked quickly. And when your eyes blink quickly, this is typically an indication that you are lying. So if a body language expert were to look at me, he might conclude, he's not congruent with what he said. But actually what happened was, in that very moment when I was speaking about what I was saying, an immediate concern came to my head, which was, am I about to say something which could reflect badly on my ex-wives? So I actually got a little bit nervous in that moment and had to do an on-the-spot calculation. Should I say this? Shouldn't I say this? And that caused my eyes to blink quickly, you see? But typically, a quick blink is an indication that the individual is lying. So you have to be careful with reading into body language. But yeah, it can provide you with good indication for sure.
No, that's fair enough. So it's about balance and moderation.
Excellent, absolutely. And more than anything, bro, pay attention to her family. What's the dynamics between her husband, her mother and father? I'm telling you, you will get a lot more out of that. Find out what mum and dad are like. Believe me.
No, jazakallah khair.
Wayak habibi. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Hannah, I can see you in the stream. I'm going to bring you in a second. Yeah, guys, this feminism thing, don't get too hung up on it. Yes, it's bad, but what's more important is the nature of the woman. You, generally speaking, want to find a sister who comes from a good home, stable, nuclear home, where mum and dad are still together, and mum is submissive towards the father. Father is in the dominant role. Mother is in the submissive role. Mother has respect to father. You know, father is taking care of the household and the children. These are more important things. Believe me, all this feminism stuff, don't worry yourself too much with it. If these important things are ticked off. Guys, we got, how many of you? 77 of you in here right now, and like 20 likes. Please like that video, sub the channel. It takes nothing from you. Hannah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam.
You have my daughter's name. How are you, Hannah?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Yes, sister, what you got for me?
So, you know, when you said that a woman doesn't want her man, well, her greatest problem with her husband marrying another wife is obviously he will have to provide for the family, and that will lower her provisions, right?
Yep.
But I think maybe if her man is like a low income earner, that might be a big problem for her. But I think, in my opinion, as a female, I think the biggest reason I would be sort of hesitant or not want it at all is that just the idea that my man is in love with another woman, you know, or that he's saying the things that he says to me to her. Right?
Are you married?
No.
Have you been married before?
Nope.
Okay. So first and foremostly, most men are average income earners, and average is low. Most people on the planet, especially in the Western world, don't have more than 2 months worth of savings to see them by if they were to lose their job tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that statement, that blanket statement that I made, applies to most men. So if the average everyday man is going to marry again, he is going to compromise the financial stability of his first household. There's no doubt about this. Now, I understand what you're saying, that, you know, the idea of your man loving another man, loving another woman is problematic. I get that. And I'm not saying that's not a thing, but I am saying the existential fear. The big issue here is my security compromised? Am I safe? Am I going to be put at risk right now? Because there are bigger things than love, Hannah. There are more important things, like, am I going to have a roof over my head next month if my man goes and marries someone else? Do you understand?
Do you know what but you know, the way I would see it would be, how could he even want a second wife if he's an average earner and he's going to put, you know, I'll be honest, I'd be like, what do you mean you want a second wife? Like, you don't even earn that much.
Yep. Gentlemen, I'm telling you, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to give you a scenario. Your husband, in this hypothetical scenario, is extremely above average earner. Let's put a number on it. He earns 3 times as much as is required to take care of you and your children. So there is a great surplus of wealth. Okay, he takes care of you, he takes care of your kids, and he has 3 times more to spare as well. Would you have as much of an issue with him marrying again, or would you be more inclined towards at least being facilitating in that regard?
I would have to say that I would still have an issue, but the issue would now be different. It would be, oh, he's gonna love someone and he's gonna sleep with her and he's gonna tell her all the sweet things he's gonna tell me, you know?
Yes.
It becomes like a competition, and I don't want to compete. If I have a high value man, let's say, or a man that I really think he's amazing and blah blah blah, what would make me like the most, like the happiest, would be that he only wants me and he's not going to be with anyone else, you know?
But you have to
But
understand,
I think
Hannah, that a man like that, you're not going to have him to yourself. He is going to be shared. And the reason why is simple. What you possess, I'm assuming you're young. You sound young to me. How old are you?
I'm 22.
Right. So what you possess, you're in the flower of your youth and beauty. That's common. What he possesses, a surplus of wealth, a great abundance of wealth, is rare. Therefore, the one who is rare is the one who is more coveted, more desired. So that's okay. You don't have to tolerate him sharing. The door is always open. You are always welcome to leave. He doesn't, in this hypothetical example, you don't have to stay. You can leave if it bothers you to that point. But then the question you must ask yourself, Hannah, is, if I leave, will I find something better than him? What do you think?
Well, if I was in that hypothetical situation, and let's say let's say my husband was Khabib, right? And he said, oh, I'm going to marry another woman. And if you're not happy with it, that's it, we're over.
Did you say Khabib?
Huh?
Khabib.
Yeah, like, let's give it a face. And he said, if you're not happy with it, we're over. I'll be like, okay, fine. You can do it.
So let me get this straight. So you'd let Khabib go, and then what?
No. If he said to me,
Yeah.
you have to be okay with it, or that's it, we're done, then I'd be
Right.
like, okay, fine, you can go marry a second wife. I'll be okay with it.
Okay. I mean, that statement there, you can go, he doesn't need your permission right off the rip. I mean, no, even an average man doesn't need your permission. But I understand what you're saying, that when a man is average, and gentlemen, pay attention, I talk about this on my channel all the time. When you are average, women have less tolerance for your BS in general. But you want to go get married again? Brother, don't do that. You got kids as well, like you got a family unit, don't do it. If you're average, don't do it. But yes, women have a greater tolerance for above average men. And when brothers quote examples of men throughout history who have gotten married again, what they fail to recognize is they tend to pick out examples of, even in the Muslim history, men who are very successful. Sulaiman alayhi salam was a king. Dawood alayhi salam, yes, these men always had many women because they are rare. Any other questions you have, Hannah?
I want to say that I agree. Like, most men are average, and I'm not, I'm not better than to marry an average man, But I would say, if you're an average man, honestly, from a female's perspective, if you are like if you're coming to your wife and saying, oh, I want to have a second wife, and you don't really earn that much, I don't think it's worth like the amount of like respect you're going to lose in her eyes.
How do you mean? Explain to me what you mean.
Because in her mind, it's like, you don't earn that much, and then now you're coming to me and you want another wife, instead of putting that energy into like earning more, let's say.
Yeah, 100. I know. I can't disagree with you there.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, 100%. Shukran, Hannah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, thank you. Walaikum salam.
Gentlemen, I talk about this all the time. I've got a video on my YouTube channel. I think the title of it is "You Don't Deserve a Second Wife," or "You Don't Deserve Another Wife," something like that. And most men should knock off this polygyny stuff. Knock it off. Most men. Because you don't qualify in the first place. You don't qualify in the first place. And you run the risk. And remember, what's the most important thing for me when I do all this content is what? Maintaining the nuclear household. Keeping mom and dad together so that the children can be raised in a wholesome environment. Kids do best when they are raised with mom and dad. What is the point in continuing to build, i.e. get another wife, if the first building that you built, i.e. your first wife and your children there, crumbles? What's the point? That's what I did. I tried to build again whilst the first building wasn't even finished yet, wasn't even taken care of properly. What happened? The building crumbled. Kids raised now in a broken home. Kids exposed to the elements of being raised in a broken home. This is a serious problem. Serious problem. Sulaiman, salam alaikum wa rahmatullah.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله كيف الحال؟
Alhamdulillah. How you doing, akhi?
الحمد لله بخير بخير.
Alhamdulillah. What you got for me, bro?
Nothing, bro. I've been following your content for a while, you know, like
Okay.
ever since the talk you had with brother Gil al-Romani and the three Muslims, you know, and it's eye-opening stuff, you know, definitely.
Good. I'm glad you like it. Any questions, Sulaiman, before I move on to the next person?
You know, at the minute, you know, I'm way searching, but I'm doing it online, you know, and it's long. Online is long, you know.
Listen, Sulaiman, I'm going to bring Shawkani in. If you have a question, you're welcome to come back in. Osman or Uthman, salamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. كيف الحال, أخي? How are we doing?
Alhamdulillah, bkhair. I just had a quick question for you, if that's okay.
Yes, أخي, تفضل.
Yeah. So my question is, so you see your quote, من كبر شيء فَتَكْبَرْ, and ومن صغر شيء فَتَصْغَرْ.
It's not my quote. I took this from Nu'man Ali Khan.
Nu'man Ali Khan, that's all I wanted. Thank you. I just wanted to know where you got the quote from.
But that's not his quote either.
So
No,
who said this originally, if you know?
I learned it from him, but he said it's a famous Arabic proverb. It's
Yeah.
not a hadith or anything. It's just like a proverb.
Because I was searching for this quote on the internet and I couldn't find who made the quote. Because it's an excellent quote and I apply it
Right.
in my life daily. Like it's an amazing quote, but I just want to know who made the quote.
Yeah, I mean, and for the audience watching right now, the quote that Uthman has just quoted, "Man kabbara shay'in fatakbur wa man saghara shay'in fatasghar." It means whoever makes a big deal out of something, it becomes big, and whoever minimizes an issue, it becomes small. Meaning, if you have a problem, don't magnify that problem by giving it attention. Okay, for example, when it comes to crisis management, you're dealing with a problem. Oftentimes, what people like to do is try to respond to every single accusation that's been made about them, putting out fires left and right. But when you do that, people start looking at you and thinking, hold on, if you're innocent, why are you putting all this effort in to put out fires left and right? You're making a big deal out of it. Why are you making a big deal out of it? I thought you said it's not real. Now you have further cemented their belief in it. The irony. But yeah, your best bet is to hit up Nu'man Ali Khan, because it's him that I picked it up from in the first place.
Okay. Jazakallah khair, akhi. That's all I wanted. Thank you.
Baby, well, yeah, take care, akhi. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Right, I can see you fights breaking out in the chat again as per usual. Guys, get those likes up, please. Jazakumullah khair. I've got how many of you in here right now? 92 of you in here, only 38 likes, less than 50%. Hit that like. Jazakumullah khair. Right. Ahmed, marrying one woman is enough work. Marrying two will set you back a bunch of steps because you're going to have to spend time with her and sacrifice time working on your ambitions. You are absolutely right. Why am I not getting another wife right now myself? For the exact same reason. Wives take time. They take time from you, man. They take time. Especially if you have multiple of them. AbuAmerican was talking about this the other day. It's like, it's a job. Maintaining multiple wives is a job. Not just the financial aspect, the time aspect, the emotional aspect, the going out and doing stuff. It's long. And I've mentioned in the past that it's a good rule of thumb as a man that you don't really consider polygyny until after the age of 35. Nothing to do with Quran and Sunnah or anything like this. Unless you're like exceptional man, like an anomaly. Generally speaking, most men, if they become able, firstly and foremostly, to entertain the idea of polygyny, don't entertain it until after the age of 35. Why? You need to establish yourself first, get something going for yourself, and that takes time. Not to mention your mental maturity up here. That takes time as well. That takes time. It takes time. AbuAmerican even said, if you can, don't even get married at all until you've established yourself. And what I will say to that is, so long as you're not falling into haram. If you fall into haram, now marriage becomes wajib upon you. And to the sisters in the chat, and I've said this before, have mercy on your young brothers. To the young sisters who are looking to marry a young brother, have mercy on him. Your expectations of him are too high, too much. If you want a man like that, go and marry a man who's in his 50s. But you see, that's a put off to you. I don't want to marry no old man. Well, okay then. Pick your poison. Pick your poison. The average millionaire makes his first million at the age of 49. 49 years old. That's the age that the average millionaire man makes his first million. Go and marry a 49-year-old who is in that tiny bracket percentage of men who are millionaires. Or don't. Marry a young brother and have mercy on him in terms of your expectations from him. Links in the description if you want to join the live. It's way harder to find a good wife as a young man. I'm just saying. You're absolutely right. Why is that, Kanaki? Because you are at your lowest sexual market value. You are the equivalent of an old woman. That's what you are the equivalent of, an old barren woman. Your age might be the same, but your desirability to the opposite sex is right at its lowest. Why? Because what women value in a man is at its lowest when you are young, unless you're flipping Justin Bieber or something. Anomalies, exceptions to the rule. Have mercy on your young brothers, sisters. Mahdi, what's your email if we have a personal question, or do we pay for a question? I don't have money. Everyone has money, sister. My email, you can, for consultations, is in the description of all of my videos. It's theredmahdi@gmail.com. Okay? Unless your question is something very good that I can make content out of, I do not answer questions for free because my time is very precious to me. And you will not believe the amount of DMs I get on a daily basis of people asking me to answer this, that, and the third. So unless it's a quick yes, no question, I can do that for you. Mahdi, this, yes, that, no, I can do that, no problem. The moment you want me to start picking my brains, that's time you will have to pay for. Right. Loyal to 4 wise facts. Right. Akhi, take this question to Alam Mahdi Tijani. Are the women of Jannah better than earthly women? Take this question to, I don't know, take this question to a scholar, please, yeah? The problem is that young Muslims think too easy about polygyny. I mean, the divorce rates are going through the roof, and that with one woman. This is true. First start with one, after 10 years. No, I don't know about that. Listen, just as that sister said just now, if it was Khabib, yeah, I wouldn't leave him. There's proof for you. What is proof? Now, of course, not everyone can become Khabib, but I'm just saying, once you separate yourself from the pack, see, the problem here is men want exceptional results, multiple wives, whilst not putting out exceptional outcomes. Let me just ban this person here. Block user. Men want exceptional results, multiple wives, without putting out exceptional outcomes. That's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. You want exceptional results? Fine. You must become exceptional. It's called the burden of performance. Bilal, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. How are we doing, Akhi?
Alhamdulillah. How are you doing, Akhi?
Good, alhamdulillah. What you got for me, bro?
So I just wanted to address a very sensitive topic, but I think it needs to be addressed because not many people are talking about it. But it's regarding this idea of practicing Muslim women who find the idea of intimacy and lovemaking as a dirty thing. That if you're doing, you're not doing anything wrong. You know what you're doing as a man. You're trying to lead and everything, but she's sort of keeps delaying it, being shy. You're doing the right things, but she's just feels that she's a dirty woman if she thinks these things. So how would you combat that, Akhi?
Okay, is it? I need more details. Give me a. Don't give me general. Give me a specific example of something that happened to someone.
So, for example, if he's doing the right things in terms of he's trying to set the mood and everything.
Someone? Did this happen to someone?
Yes, I know a few people who have complained about this. Yes.
Tell me what happened.
So one of the instances, which I don't want to give too much detail, but is that when he mentioned that when he started to set the mood and everything, she would start to feel a bit disgusted or shied away, and for no reason, because she just thought that she wouldn't be as pious, or she didn't really want to engage in it, so she would sort of discount it, or she might do it reluctantly.
And how did he set the mood? What does that mean?
So he did everything right in terms of he was at work, for example, he would send her like a nice cheeky little text, for example. He would come home with a big smile, just doing what a man would be doing, leading, just making sure that she's kind. He's on his purpose. But then when it comes to, them two just having the time in the evening, relaxing and stuff, she would just not be on it.
Was he nervous?
Nope, he was confident. He knew what he was doing. He learnt game, everything, and he applied and did what he did. But it was on her part.
If a woman is not sexually attracted to a man, it's because of something the man is doing to the woman. Okay? And this is not a blame thing. I'm just simply saying. If a woman is not sexually attracted to a man, it's because of something the man is doing to her. Now, she will say to you, oh, I think it's dirty. Oh, I think this, that, and the third. She's lying. She doesn't want to hurt you. She is simply trying to postpone because she's not feeling that brother in the first place. And it's really hard for me to be able to give you an exact idea of what's going on without more details. But as a general rule, I would say this: emotions are infectious. If he is approaching her timidly in some type of way, if he is trying to seek permission from her, never ever seek permission. You guys remember my video? Never ask for consent. Why? Because your timidity infects her. When you are tiptoeing around her, you make her feel like she needs to tiptoe around you. So it's difficult for me, Bilal, to be able to give you a comprehensive answer without knowing more. But as a general rule, understand this: if a woman is holding off, unless she's had some type of crazy sihr done on her or something mad, something bonkers, generally speaking, it's because she is not sexually attracted to that man.
I just feel, just to add to that, I just feel that this might be an exception to the rule where he's involved in a unique situation where he is, mashallah, he's a good-looking brother, mashallah, and that's the reason why they got married as well, the deen and everything.
Looks mean nothing. You guys seen Psycho Omar? With respect to Psycho Omar, and he's not some type of George Clooney, and yet Psycho Omar makes every woman melt. Every woman he gets into contact with melts. Why? Because of who he is. I'm not saying to be Psycho Omar. I'm simply pointing out an objective reality. In the way that he conducts himself, he gets women on their knees. Just watch his lives. All of them. All types, shapes, sizes, all sorts. Now, if this is a true exception to the rule, then the question doesn't really matter, bro. Let's say for example, she has some type of sihr on her or something crazy, then that's it. She's an exception to the rule. Cancer drugs don't work on all cancer patients. But I can't make that distinction. I don't know if he is or not. Only that individual does. And I would recommend that whoever that individual is, he needs to look more deeply into how he is conducting himself around her to establish whether truly she's an exception to the rule, or whether he is doing something that is causing her to feel timid and shy and not wanting to be intimate with him. Okay, Bilal?
No, that makes sense. But no, Jazakallah khair. Of course, it's difficult to give a final solution if all the details are not there. But of course, for privacy reasons and stuff. But this is what I've been told.
You can tell the brother to email me. Tell him to email me, theredmahdi@gmail.com. If he wants to arrange a consultation, we can do that. I can give him a quick answer. If he wants to go into detail, and this sounds like something that needs detail and time, we can do it, inshallah. Okay, Habibi?
No, Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Cool guy. I can see you in the stream. I'll bring you in a second. Gib. Jazakallah khair for the £5 super chat. I'm single because I refuse to get married to anyone who wants civil marriage. They all do. That's not true. No, they don't. I'm now. Have you spoken to every single woman in the UK, bro? I'm now thinking of leaving UK due to this. Bros say no. Yeah, women make rules for men they don't, right, and break them for men they do. If you are finding that this is a repetitive problem, that women are making all sorts of rules for you, it's probably because she don't rate you like that. If a sister is insisting upon you marrying her through the civil marriage, it's probably because she's thinking, I don't know if I can hack it out with this guy in the long run. So if I'm going to give myself to him and give him my best years and potentially have his kids, then I better get a payout at the end of it. Ah, boy. Gentlemen, become and they will come. Become and they will come. Cool guy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You on the stream, bro? You there? Okay. Omar, you are in the stream, but you haven't got a device connected. So if you want to join the stream, you need to connect a device, your mic or your cam, before I can bring you in. Yes, sir. Become and they will come. Absolutely. Right. G Joe, appreciate $10 super chat, my man. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum, Mahdi. Here just to show support. Keep up the good content. Much respect, brother. Salute. Jazakallah khair, habibi. Much appreciated. Right. All right, guys. This is it, man. Live. This is it. So there, man. Appreciate it, bro. I can see you in the chat there. Yallah. I'm going to wrap this up for now. Ladies, gentlemen, please like that video, sub the channel. It helps with the algorithm. Jazakumullah khair. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.